What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
All right, I think we are all set. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode number 568 of Underground Sports Philadelphia, presented by the City of Vineland. It's KB, it's Matt, coming at you from Underground Studios. We got a lot to dive into tonight from the Eagles, the Phillies, whole lot more. Philadelphia Union, I know we mentioned the Survivor cast last week. We didn't get enough time to get into it, but if we do this week, we will certainly talk about our new Survivor cast as well. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at Underground PHI, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. You can follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. You can follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating and review. It goes a long way for helping the show continue to grow. Helps more people find Underground Sports Philadelphia as a whole and our entire podcast network. So go subscribe, leave a 5-star rating and review. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show twice a week. You get full video episodes of every show on our network, including Guzman's Gridiron, which is also premiering every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. on our YouTube channel. So definitely check that out. You get Eagles Enemies, which debuted today as we record this with good friend of the program, Arif Hassan. Plus, you get Top Bins with Matt and Dom. You get OTB with myself and DJ. Streamer Season, Get in the Hole, F1 Underground. All the content is on our YouTube channel. Looking to get to 600 subscribers before the end of the month. We're at 549 as of this recording, so go subscribe. Be a friend, tell a friend, smash that like button, ring the bell icon, and leave a comment down below with all your thoughts on the things Matt and I discuss on tonight's episode. But this show, presented by the City of Vineland and the City of Vineland Municipal Calendar, features city-organized, city-sponsored, and city-affiliated events that are of public interest. The calendar, which is accessible at vinelandcity.org, is a good way for residents and visitors to build awareness, remain engaged with city government, and participate in local events. You can also follow the City of Vineland on social media via their Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube pages. Through these tools, you can stay connected to the community and get important announcements about programs and services offered by the city. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. And big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for sponsoring this podcast and continuing to sponsor this podcast. We appreciate your support as always. What's going on, man?
Living the dream.
We got Eagles on deck tomorrow night, Thursday night football. We got Phillies baseball in a frustrating yet somehow positive series against the Braves so far. Looking to split the series tonight. Lot to dive into there. We'll start with the Eagles as Thursday night football is on the horizon. And it's brought to you by our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. They're the best in the game. They are our exclusive merch partners, and you can get all your Eagles merch for your tailgates, going out to the bar, hanging out at home, watching the birds. You can get all your Underground Sports Philadelphia merch as well. We got some new merch in the works for the fall that you're not going to want to miss out on. Go to phiapparel.co so you can stand out in the crowd. And when you go to checkout, use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off any and all merch orders, including our Philly Dog shirt, our logo shirts for all of our podcasts, and some of the coolest Eagles merch around, including Phillies as well, to gear up for Red October. Sixers, Flyers, Union, Philadelphia-centric merch. It's the best in the game. And use code UNDERGROUND when you go to checkout to get 10% off your order. Eagles come off a struggle of a win against the Patriots, 25-20. Pat Pitts and I broke that down on Monday's episode. But, it's week one, and I think what we learned last year as well as the Eagles struggled to come out with a win against the Detroit Lions. Week 1 at this stage of NFL football is effectively preseason week 4, where all of your starters just play. The Eagles didn't have a single starter of note play in the preseason. So this was their first time collectively playing together since the Super Bowl in a game setting. 2 new coordinators, sloppy, rainy conditions on the road. I think you're happy coming out with any type of win from there. And now you have a short week to kind of learn from the mistakes, fix some things, try to stay as healthy as possible. And you have a Minnesota Vikings team coming in who are 0-1 on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, if you look around the entire football league, I think it was a not great offensive week. It was one of the lowest scoring week 1s in like 20 years. And part of that was weather. There was quite a few games that had adverse weather conditions. And part of that's, like you said, a lot of teams now don't have a lot of their star players playing any preseason or very limited amounts of preseason. We've seen over the last few years the amount of practice and training camp time be reduced as part of like new CBA negotiations for players. So, it seems like this could be kind of a trend going forward with week 1. But you saw teams that are notorious for playing their starters look really hot, like the Los Angeles Rams, are a team that, and part of that is because they kind of had to, because of the refresh they did with that squad. But with all that said, I think it's a fine win. It's not one that you hang your hat on. I think there's maybe some areas of concern if you're the Eagles, but I think when you look around and look at how other teams that we expect to be top teams performed over week 1, I don't think you get too worried, especially when you look at the AFC. All the top teams in the AFC essentially lost. Some like Chiefs, like you said, lost at home on opening night. You saw the Bengals look terrible in Cleveland. The Bills get stunned in New York. Just a really bad Josh Allen game. If you look in the NFC, I mean,
hey, your Dolphins beat the Chargers.
Of course. Well,
the Golden Boys of the AFC all lost.
That was expected. There was no surprise there. The Los Angeles Chargers will. I already said that Brandon Staley, it's insane that he didn't get fired. I don't know how he makes it through a season in a serious organization, but since it's an unserious team, he will be there through the course of the year. But the NFC, I think, is a little bit of a different story in that I think a lot of the top teams that kind of projected at the beginning of the season are right there with strong week 1s. I would actually say the Eagles probably the worst win out of like the top contenders. Cowboys, stunning performance against the Giants. 49ers, that game is over after the first quarter. The Lions go on the road in Kansas City and get a big win. My Packers.
Your Packers.
My Packers with a great win over Chicago. Seahawks disappointing, but I think in general, like I said, you look around and there were a lot of teams that struggled, and there are potential concerns with the Eagles, but I think you get a good bounce-back game against Minnesota. This is going to be a high-scoring affair, I think, though. The Eagles picked up a few defensive injuries, saw quite a few times Mac Jones being able to, especially over the middle. That was an area that the Eagles didn't really address this summer, sort of just let go by, and that's one that they've never really prioritized, similar to like the running back position, right, where they're okay with sort of just plugging gaps rather than finding like true difference makers in your linebacker safety area. Kobe Dean picks up an injury. Don't know how serious exactly that is just yet, but yeah, it's I think it's going to be a really good game. Sucks to have to go, such a quick turnaround, but I think in some ways that might benefit the Eagles in that, you get right back at it, and I think again you get that nice layoff at the beginning of the year, readjust, get everyone healthy, and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, Kobe Dean is going to be out, I think, 3 to 4 weeks with the foot injury, but no surgery is needed. So that's a benefit there. So hopefully, he's able to rest up for the next month and come back ready to play. I know the Eagles did sign Rashawn Davis to the practice squad, former first-round pick from Alabama, just continuing to add on to Howie Roseman losing his Florida Gators alumni card. But the injury report for Thursday's game is out, and like you said, Matt, some big names going to be out on Thursday. And one that's kind of a surprise that I think a lot of people thought he was going to be able to play through it. Reed Blankenship, rib injury, he's out on Thursday. James Bradbury still in the concussion protocol. So obviously with the quick turnaround, he is out. Kenneth Gainwell with a rib injury, he is out. And Fletcher Cox also with a rib injury, which is just very weird that the cousins on this team both have rib injuries. He is questionable for Thursday night. It seems like his is more of a pain tolerance management situation than anything else. But Blankenship, Bradbury, Gainwell all out Thursday, as well as Nakobe Dean being out. Going to have to battle on the defensive side of things. Going to see a lot of Josh Jobe on that outside corner position to fill in for Bradbury. Safety's going to be very interesting, especially when you're playing against, a Justin Jefferson, playing against TJ Hawkinson, KJ Osborne, Jordan Addison. Like, the Vikings have weapons that this Eagles pass rush is going to be extremely pivotal in kind of scripting this game in a sense. Not that the NFL is scripted or anything, wink, wink, but it's going to come down to the Eagles' defensive front being able to create pressure, make Kirk Cousins uncomfortable. And Arif Hassan brought it up on Eagles Enemies this week, which you can go check out on the Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast feed. The Vikings arguably have the worst starting left guard in football. So if you can get, Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox, Milton Williams, and the rest of those boys in the middle to really make Kirk uncomfortable, you're much better off than if you're only sending 4 every time and not blitzing as much as you possibly could.
Yeah, Jalen Carter had a great debut in New England too. I think that maybe didn't get as big of notice as it could have. Jordan Davis also looked good in that game too. I think that's a big component to all this. First round pick from not this past draft, but last draft. If he's able to make a jump this year and be more regular, even just starter for this team, that was not really his role last season. That's a big boost. So there's, like I said, there's some things to be critical about, but I think largely speaking, team looked good. New England is a very, very good defense. I think you're going to see a different story against Minnesota on Thursday. I think you'll be able to see this team. Tony Romo was saying on the broadcast that they were New England was running like schemes he's never seen before, a mix between like zone and man pressure that he said, I've never seen it. Like, this is just new. And I don't know, when Tony Romo, who's been around the NFL for like 20 years, is saying something like that, and I've heard that from other people too, not even just on the broadcast, that they were like doing a lot of really good disguising, and I think that really challenged the Eagles. And listen, like, the Patriots, the only constant that they've had over the last few years is a very good defense, and they do have a lot of talent on that end. So I don't get worried about the poor performance on offense. I think you could maybe question like play calling, because obviously you don't have Shane Steichen anymore, and Nick Sirianni. It's always a challenge, I think, when a head coach is doing double duty. I think there was a weird timeout that they had to burn because of that, and those are the kind of mistakes that you see when you kind of have again, a head coach kind of calling defensive plays, calling offensive plays, where time management, things like that can kind of fall off a little bit. So expect that things will improve as the season goes on. Still saw like big defensive plays. This team is definitely capable of doing that. They still have individual talent. It's clearly going to take a step back from last year, but because last year was a historic pace, and again, everyone was healthy last year. It's just not going to happen again. And I think I saw everything that I kind of expected to see, which seems still very good. They're not necessarily 14-win good, but they still could. But, it seems probably more on the 11-12 scale, and they're going to have to suffer through some injuries this year, which is something they didn't have to do, and that's fine. I think you make your peace with that, as most NFL teams have to do.
And I think one of the big things you take away from this is you're very happy that you decided to re-sign Darius Slay.
Yeah, he looked good. We talked about guys at his age, along with Bradbury, that typically don't play full 17 games, or we're going to see that from Bradbury, although, of course, not, a muscle issue or something, right? Like, it's just a fact of playing football is that, concussions are a reality. But, yeah, it looked good. Looked electric on that return. And being able to make big plays like that, you saw the Eagles go up. I almost wonder, too, if, like, going up that early, too, kind of changes your mind about, like, you don't plan to have that, happen. Go 16-0 up so quickly, and I feel like now you have to kind of control the game. I think the struggle again. There were struggles on the offense. They were not efficient like we saw last year. I thought again Jalen seemed a little indecisive at times too, which was a little frustrating to see. I'd like to see him be a little more just assertive. I think, again, you have to wrap this all up in the fact, though, that this team has two coordinators, new coordinators on both sides of the ball. Like you said, didn't get preseason reps together. Obviously, you have training camp and all that, but there's just a massive difference when you get into game time, and you have a great opportunity at home. I have a feeling, I don't know, that the atmosphere is going to be electric on a Thursday night. Minnesota has traditionally walked into the Link and gotten hosed. And I'm not going to say I expect that again, but I think it's going to be a competitive game. Minnesota has a tendency to kind of hang around. In one of the good and bad qualities that they have is they play to their level of competition. They're just one of those kinds of teams. It's why you saw them in so many close games last year, because I think they had a pretty challenging schedule when you look back on it. They have a tendency to kind of hang around, and you highlighted the offensive weapons they have. There's some deficiencies and injuries on the Eagles' defensive end that could make this game maybe like a high 20s, even low 30s potential shootout.
Yeah, it's going to be quite the game, and Arif and I talked about it this week. Feels like one big thing in this game could really be the match that lights up an Eagles-Vikings like true rivalry. Like, it has all the inner makings of it, even dating back to like when we were super young, like Randall Cunningham going to the Vikings, and then everything that has matriculated since 2018. Obviously Donovan goes there, but since the NFC Championship game forward, it feels like there's been like the groundwork is there, and it just needs that one piece of dynamite to let it explode. Which would be very fun. I think interdivisional rivalries and interconference rivalries are fun in the NFL, and we need more of it. It's always surprised me why the Eagles and Steelers aren't more rivals than what they should be, being interstate, because we see that obviously in hockey with the Flyers and the Penguins. And, I think the NFL kind of needs more of that, and you see it with certain instances, but I think it would be very fun if the Eagles and Vikings were able to kind of have something happen where it truly does, kick off a fun interdivisional rivalry in the NFC.
It does remind me a little bit of, like, I can always remember, like, it's different because obviously Sixers and Celtics have much more of a history and are actually within division and much more storied, franchises, but there's that rivalry, but it is one-sided, and that the Celtics just have a tendency to just beat the Sixers' ass all the time. It's kind of the same way with the Vikings, and that I think there's this there's a little bit of an edge to it, but yet it has been in recent history, especially the last few years, very one-sided and not really been anything different. And yeah, I see it kind of the same way. Like I said, I watched the Netflix quarterback show. I grew to appreciate Kirk Cousins a little bit and like him. It's totally changed my perspective on him. And when I was watching games on Sunday, I felt kind of bad. He got laid out really terribly on a play, and I was like, man, I feel kind of bad for him now. I feel a little different about him.
Yeah, I mean, very excited for Thursday night, and I do think it is kind of an advantage in a sense to have the short week this early in the year, and then you have like a mini bye week early in the season, coupled with it being, going into Monday Night Football, instead of having the short week late in the year, where, more unfortunate injuries could be occurring later in the season as you get more mileage on your body as the season continues, you're playing more. I think this is kind of an advantage that, week 2 is your Thursday night game.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it gives you that it's not quite a bye week, but it gives you that extra time to, like I said, rest, and you can use it as a mini bye week, make any kind of adjustments that you see. And yeah, I do think there's some positives and some negatives. I think I'd prefer a short week in week 2 rather than like week 11.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're looking at it that way, but yeah, I think, listen, looking around the NFL, like I said, especially in the NFC, you've seen what the division is largely going to look like, and kind of the business that you're going to have to take care of. I think we knew that before the season, but after even 1 week, you kind of have an idea that you're going to need to beat the Cowboys, probably to win the division. And one of these two teams is probably going to win, from 10 to 13 games. But both these teams are going to win from 10 to 13 games. So only one of them is going to be hosting a home playoff game. Like one of them is going to have to go on the road on a tough matchup, and I think that matters a lot. And, I think you look back to last season, that might be the difference between maybe the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl rather than it's just, that's just the difference. And it is meaningful. So we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah. And, speaking of your Packers, they won't be getting a first-round pick, though.
I mean, talk about all-time just, number one, most New York sports moment ever. Because New York sports, in general, have this like air about them, which is solely the Yankees and two, just unreal giant runs. Like, outside of that, like, New York has never in my lifetime been... In fact, I would say more often than not, New York sports have been terrible in my lifetime. Mm-hmm. Again, outside of the Yankees. Like, Yankees have been the only thing, and even the Giants, they're only 2 good years. Just happen to also be super.
And even then, we're coming in on what? Almost 15 years since the Yankees have won a World Series, and you take that out of the equation.
I mean, the Giants are like the Marlins of the NFL, and they've had 2 good years, and they just were also Super Bowl years. Outside of that, it's been bad,
and they weren't even great regular season years. No. They were the 6th seed and the 5 seed, I think.
It's it's unbelievable. 4 plays in, Aaron Rodgers done for the season. That's crazy, and it definitely changes things in the AFC a little bit, because I think, with Aaron Rodgers, if he's at least competent, you're probably getting to 9-10 wins with him. With Zach Wilson, probably similar to last year, where you're looking around 7. It just completely alters the course of that season. Completely alters the next few years of Jets football too, because you were already sort of betting and pushing all in to try and win now with Aaron Rodgers, but now you have a recovering 39 going on 40-year-old from a not easy injury to come back from. I know that we've seen players come back from Achilles injuries the last few years, but still, and age will also play a part in that. You're not bad. This team is still good. Has a good roster. They're not going to be bad enough that they can tank and try and even trade up and get one of the quarterbacks in this draft. I don't know where they go from here, but it certainly... it was a while, and then they end up winning the game. That's
I did see, the history buff that you are. I did see a very funny graphic. It was Aaron Rodgers next to Abraham Lincoln, and a 4 greater than 1, and underneath it said, "Plays before tragedy."
Well, I mean, it's just, it's still kind of in disbelief. It just it happens so fast, and it just I remember too, they have the Twitter doctors, and they're someone mentioned, and I always love this, because the doctors watching the game, they're not there, right, and they can't obviously examine the person, but they're doctors, they've seen these injuries, they're sports, they've seen this, and I don't remember which one, but tweeted could be an ankle or Liz Frank injury, but also worryingly could be an Achilles, because it was the same movement that J.K. Dobbins, who also really tragically tore his Achilles, but it was the same kind of function that injury was, and that was the big concern. People were this is fucking stupid. How could a doc? And then turns out
there was also that tweet too from a parody David Zaslav account that said 2.5 hours until Aaron Rodgers tears his Achilles on a rain-soaked MetLife turf, and then 24 hours later, that account was suspended by Twitter.
What did he know? It was Aaron Rodgers' strange brother. The only thing I hate about it is it's brought up the turf versus grass debate, which is just the most exhausting debate. I agree, turf sucks, but it's never going to change, because
owners are cheap.
It's not even just that. The same people that, first of all, they don't actually care about player health, but like to weaponize player health and discussion, be well, we care about player health, would also be the same people that would complain that NFL stadiums would then sit quiet outside of 8 games a year, because almost the entire purpose of turf is that it allows you to host multiple events in a week, be able to host a concert on a Friday and still have an NFL game on a Sunday. It's just, that is the benefit, is that, then these teams are able to, and listen, I'm not in favor of owners getting more, but that is, that's the reality of it. Does it suck? Yeah. Is it going to change? Probably not. And I also don't know that the turf was the reason he got injured on that play.
Right.
I think it's just shit happens. Like you're old and weird things happen to your body. I don't know. That was not one of those injuries that I thought of the turf. That I've
like a 400-pound guy coming down on you.
Leonard Floyd's not 400.
Well,
Come on,
you're
doing Leonard Floyd 30
with the force and everything coming down on him. Like, he's got exponential weight coming down on him in an awkward position on a field that already had a game played on it wet the night before.
Yeah,
there's a lot of factors that go into that, and I think damn near any play that Aaron Rodgers' leg is extended like that, that injury is more than likely going to happen, especially if you watch the Zapruder film video of it and you just see it pluck like an absolute guitar string. That thing was hanging on for dear life.
That's brutal to watch. It's interesting too, because the entire offseason, and even if you watch Hard Knocks, like the tagline about the Jets was like this terrible offensive line, and that they
I thought it was ski
that they couldn't get good protection, and they couldn't depend on a lot of guys, like so much so that, and they even kept this in like one of the Hard Knocks cuts, like Robert Saleh was just like, honestly, the offensive line sucked. He's like telling this to everyone in their face, like, you guys need to come here and like work and like pretend like you want to like work hard, and that ends up being the Achilles heel of this team. Honestly, it's kind of amazing.
And then apparently some report came out that Aaron Rodgers was not happy with some of the play calls that were being made because there was too many cut blocks from the offensive line, and the injury happened on a play where there were cut blocks, and Aaron got to go on another mini darkness retreat in the injury tent.
I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. There was so much hype going into this game and this season, and it just to be over so quick, it's just stunning. It's almost like a UFC or like boxing fight where it's like one of those big hyped ones, and then it like 20 seconds.
First round knockout.
Yeah, like it's just there was so much buildup, and for it to be over so quick is just kind of shocking, and in a way that you just don't see very often.
And now we're all just waiting for Carson Wentz to disturb Thursday Night Football and sign with the Jets to back up the MILF Hunter.
That would be all-time worst quarterback room vibes if you have Zach Wilson and Carson Wentz in the room together. I'm starting to get a little worried about Carson Wentz. And listen, like, if you want to hunt, fine. The dude, I think, likes killing things a little too much.
Did you not see him pose in the camo when they caught Danelo today?
Oh, my God. I'm surprised he didn't. I'll answer the call anytime. It's just, listen, again, if you want to hunt, whatever, like that's your deal. But I think the guy takes a little too much pleasure out of killing things. I don't know. Like, they're starting to get a little strange. That's all.
I think he's only signing with the Jets, too, if he can come to an agreement where his uniform only has the right wing of the Jet on his jersey and helmet.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I would. Part of me would really love to see a Carson Wentz led New York Jets.
We need to add more uniform and jersey and equipment to that photo that he posted.
Yeah, I don't know what the Jet. I guess maybe he'd steal one of Zach Wilson's headbands. Maybe that's what he would do. That's what he'd start rocking. It would probably cover up that massive forehead that Carson Wentz has. Yeah, I don't know what the Jets do. I wonder. Like, I know Robert Saleh said they're going to stick with Zach Wilson for the. No, they're not. Come on. Listen, I watched the Hard Knocks, and again, this is stuff that the team and everyone gets to see and like decide what makes it in, and they were still treating him like a Make-A-Wish kid that entire preseason. Yeah, get out there, bud. Have fun. Hey, man, just have fun. Do your best. Like, listen, just don't be weird, all right? Just don't be weird about it. That's what they were telling him the whole preseason. Now it's like, oh, we gotta get this guy to actually win games now. That's unbelievable. He was terrible in that game. He got totally bailed out by the fact that they fluked their way into that win.
It's tough. Eagles Thursday Night Football, though, is going to be exciting. If you're going to the link, tweet us photos, tag us on Instagram. We'll repost them. We want to see everybody down at the link for opening night.
Did opener. You see Aaron Rodgers' comments for the first time since his injury?
Oh, boy.
It's pretty cliche, I gotta say. It's a little derivative. I kind of expected a little bit more from him. He first of all, he's almost 40 and he's using that one like emoji that's like the sweet face with the tears coming up in it. I'm not trying to be like one of those like alpha male broadcast bros, but it's like just a bizarre choice. I just can't. Part of me can't reconcile Aaron Rodgers using that emoji. It's a picture of him holding the American flag, running out from the tunnel like he did.
To which every Jets fan was like, "Oh, we're winning the Super Bowl now."
I mean, I'm gonna tell you, like from a vibe standpoint, I got it. Anniversary of 9/11 and Aaron Rodgers, who doesn't believe in 9/11, running out with an American flag.
Wait till Joe Rogan sees this.
It was okay. So the final quote is just very cliche. The night is darkest before the dawn, and I shall rise yet again. I mean, that's got to suck. Like on his level, because he did legitimately seem happy as a Jet. But if you're a New York Jet player or fan, you don't get to enjoy happiness.
Hey, he can go on unlimited ayahuasca trips now.
Yeah. Well, maybe he'll finally get to the bottom of 9/11, like he was talking about with Deshaun Kaiser. His first question to him was, "You believe in 9/11?" And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You should look into that." So,
good grief.
Something else.
Let's shift to the baseball diamond, where the Fightin' Phils getting ready for final game of a 4-game set against the Atlanta Braves. It's brought to you by our pals over at Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. You guys can go to tomahawkshades.com or download the app in the App Store, Google Play. And if you download the app, you can claim a free pair of sunglasses just for downloading it. They come at a fraction of the cost of the big eyewear companies. So go to tomahawkshades.com, fill up your cart, go in the app, fill up your cart with blue light glasses, sunglasses, prescription lenses. And when you go to checkout, use promo code USP for 25% off your order from our pals over at Tomahawk Shades. That's tomahawkshades.com or in the app, promo code USP for 25% off your order. Matt, the Phils dropped 2 winnable games in this 4-game set so far, both in extra innings, both coming after heroic game-tying home runs by Bryce Harper and Trey Turner, respectively. They salvage part of this series so far in the second part of the doubleheader. But oddly enough, I think this series has shown that the Braves are a little more mortal than I think everybody expected them to be.
Yeah, I mean, they've hung with these Braves pretty well. This is one of the best offensive teams ever. They're just unbelievable. And Phillies have, just over the last few years even, talked about, been a pretty good opponent for the Braves. It hasn't been a totally one-sided series for the most part. So if you look at it that sense, it's good. I think you can take away some positive aspects that this team continually in late innings hits well. And that to me bodes well for the playoffs, because talked about for as statistically quote unquote solved as baseball is, there are still intangibles and things you can't account for. Like David Freese. And, this Phillies team has some of that magic we saw last postseason. They have that ability, whatever it is, call it the dog factor. But they have that ability to tap into that and come up with big moments late in games. Hasn't panned out over the last few weeks. Even in the Marlins series, you had the same thing. Even going back to the Giants series, the Angels series, you've had, especially Bryce Harper making big home runs, has not turned out ultimately the way you wanted to. But the fact that we're there still, is I'm going to take as a good thing, from the optimistic point of view.
Yeah, it shows that you can get after their bullpen, and I loved everyone last night saying that Raisel Iglesias is the new Jonathan Broxton, because we can just rock him late in games for whatever reason. But I mean, if it comes down to it and it's Phillies Braves in the NLDS again, I'm going to feel like pretty decent about the Phillies being able to hang with the Braves and potentially do what they did last year and pull the ultimate upset over the darling team this year that everybody is just already touting the World Series championship to.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I don't think there's any perfect team in baseball this year, and even the great teams in our lifetimes have had weaknesses. Even last season, those Braves and Dodgers teams were clearly very good in the regular season, but even when you're great, you can lose in the playoffs. I think there's still questions about Braves starting lineup. Like Strider's not been great. He's had a kind of an up and down season, and that bullpen is not as dominant as I used to view it for sure. I think the Dodgers are the same way. Ironically, I think the team with maybe outside of the Phillies that has some of the best pitching is like the Brewers, and I would hate that guy. I really would not love that. Actually, I think that's actually my least wild card matchup. Potentially, is if the Brewers. I think at this point I'd probably rather play the Cubs in that series. The Brewers starting pitching, especially in a 3-game wildcard series, don't love it. But I think there's weaknesses everywhere. I would not say Atlanta is definitively going through. Now again, like I said, they're one of the best offensive tems I have seen. They can grind people through. But listen, when you get to the playoffs, like anything can happen. You only need to lose 4 games, for it to all just be over.
And I mean, Cespedes Family Barbecue, they were at Citizens Bank Park last night, and they tweeted 2 very hilarious pro-Phillies tweets. The first one was, the Phillies' chaotic energy is the perfect foil to the Braves' ruthless juggernaut, which is 100% accurate. And then they said, Phillies Braves NLDS is going to be a Four Loko IV drip.
I don't know that I could. It was already hard enough playing the Braves last year.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could do that again. I'm not sure.
It's going to be an absolute war if that is the case, especially with their actually fan base. Some positives, though, from today's action that's already happened. The Rockies doing the unthinkable against the Cubs, just absolutely taking it to them. They win again today, 7-3. And coming up this weekend, Matt, we have Diamondbacks Cubs, where the Diamondbacks need to win 1 game against the Chicago Cubs to gain the tiebreaker over them, to which could treat us to a Phillies Diamondbacks NL wildcard series,
which is fascinating. Would love to see. That was a fun series earlier in the year when we played them. I remember that being a little bit of chaos, pretty high scoring. It's that's the only frustrating thing about the reality of losing and dropping some of these games. Is you haven't been able to really shore up your position at the top of the wild card, because you have had an opportunity to extend that lead a little bit. That said, there's 18 games left in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Phillies are making the playoffs. I'm gonna whisper, but it is just about position now, and you want it to be that top wild card. Yeah, I would. Last year, we were in it for the first time in a long time, and it's however I get there, I get there.
Yes.
If we have to go to St. Louis, fine, and we did, and it worked out. But I would truly prefer to not have to go on the road again and win a series. I would much rather, especially with how this team is played at home. I think the energy we saw, definitely that influence and be a part of the playoff run last year, playing in Philadelphia, and I think that would be a big thing. And I think that the biggest storyline over the last few weeks too is that Trey Turner has just been reclaimed and retouched by God, and it's just unbelievable. He's one of the best baseball players I've ever seen in my life.
We have never seen what ovation strength multiplied by dad strength has done for a human until now.
Yeah, the compounding factors there are just unbelievable. It's off the charts. I mean, it is truly. I know that we're relitigating the biogenesis scandal. I saw that on ESPN today. That does not even hold a candle to what we've been cooking with the pity ovation and dad strength. That's something else entirely.
I have to find the the tweet because Sarah Langs, who does a phenomenal job covering Major League Baseball. If you're not following her, you're doing baseball. Following on Twitter incorrect. Listen to these stats, man. Trey Turner is the second shortstop with 11-plus home runs in a 13-game span, joining 2010 Troy Tulowitzki.
Holy shit, Troy. That's not a name that I've thought of in a while.
And then Trey Turner, he's the third Phillies player with 11-plus home runs in a single-season 13-game span, joining 2006 Ryan Howard and 1976 Michael Jack Schmidt.
It's pretty good company to be.
I can't wait for Trey Turner's Wall of Fame ceremony.
I mean, carries on like that, sure. I'll chisel it myself. I don't care. Yeah, he's been great. It's definitely been a revelation, and this is more the Trey Turner that we expected to get, and that's a good sign. As we roll to the playoffs, if he's back to a really good level. And listen, I think this team, they have what it takes. We've seen that. It's sort of just starting to like buckle in now and get prepared for that. But they still have some tough series ahead of them, and it'd be nice to again create yourself a little bit of buffer. I think they said they're going to cut down the rotation to 5 after this series, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do there, because I think there's some decisions to make as to who's going to be starting.
I did find it very strange. Rob Thompson, in his radio interview that he does on the WIP morning show, said what the playoff rotation would be already, which is kind of strange to me that you'd want to put that info out there with 3 weeks left to go. But
Jonathan
he did
Gannon
say,
somewhere is like, this dude is stupid,
and I got criticized. He did say it would be Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez, Taijuan Walker,
which is not surprising. I think if you ask most fans, that'd probably be their top 4. Lorenzen, we'll see what they do with him for the rest of the season. If he continues to start, if he works in relief, it's.
They do need to figure something out with the bullpen, because
yeah,
that has been an issue all month and late August, where something is just not clicking out there right now outside of a few guys.
Yeah, and that's definitely a challenge. I will say I was listening to Matt Gelb, he was talking about last year going to the playoffs. It was the same concerns, though. And then it just clicked. Just did. And listen, there's no guarantee that happens again, but there were similar concerns about guys going to the playoffs last year. And I actually think the Phillies are in a stronger position. I think that the bullpen has largely been spared from a lot of work. I think this could just be a blip. I'm not too worried about fatigue. And even then, in a wild card series, you hopefully only need 3 to 5. You're depending on your best quality there, and you're not having to dig too deep. And I think the Phillies are just a team that I think are, like I said last year, I could believe more that they could win the World Series than they could make the playoffs, just because of the top end talent they have in the playoffs. Like, that's what matters. You see it time and time again across all sports. Is depth is important to getting you there, but if you don't have like positional and player matchup advantages in any sport, and that means having the best players in the key positions, your odds of having real success in the playoffs go down dramatically. So the Phillies do have that, though. They have a lot of plus advantages, or at the very least, it'd be grayed out in a player matchup like comparison tool. And I think that's one of their strong suits, and that's why I don't think there's a single team that wants to play the Phillies.
No.
In the wild card. There's always seen, like I just said with the Brewers, right? Like, I really would not love a Brewer series. I don't think there's a single team that is like, I would take the Phillies. I really think most teams would like to avoid us and would probably like their chances. I think if you're the Dodgers or Braves, you don't want the Phillies. Honestly. Like, the Phillies, they did it last year to the Braves. They could do it to the Braves again this year. They could do it to the Dodgers again, like we did for so many years. Like, I don't know, they are not a team that I would take any pleasure in facing. They remind me a lot of the teams that the Phillies had to get through so
Yes.
often with the Cardinals and the Giants. Like, they have that similar, and again, it's indescribable, but they have that just like fucky kind of DNA. Like they just have this like stickiness
That's the one collective brain cell.
honestly, they stick around in games when they have no right to, and they get hot very quickly. They have the ability to turn innings into 7-run innings, and we've seen them as games go on. Like, this team hits very well into 7th, 8th, 9th innings, and they've had a lot of comebacks. They've been in tight games. They've won tight games. Like, they just have that edge that I think is a scary component if you're like a top team.
Before we get to run differentials, I don't know if you saw, there was a part 2 of our favorite 4-year-old Phillies fan on TikTok. I'm this kid's biggest fan.
I bet we were done, but we still gotta do part 2. Jose, Jose, the Hawk Man. Mr. Sir Anthony, that's Lorenzen. He's throwing no-hitter. Sody Soda. Taj right, Walker. Oh, Swallow. Mr. Sanchez. Oh, he's Finale. Oh, he's so cute. I love him. Billy calls me Bellavi. Shami Wami. Redusho Castro. I saved the best for last. My BB boy. Trey Turner.
I feel the same way about Trey Turner, to be honest.
She was on Fox 29 this week as well. They interviewed her. They were like, "Were those your eyes on the TikTok?" And she was like, "Uh-huh."
It's about what I would expect from a 4-year-old.
But let's get to the NL East and MLB run differentials. Brought to you by our pals over at Kenwood Beer, the official beer of Underground Sports Philadelphia. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com. Use the all-new and improved Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenny's on tap in the Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and soon-to-be Maryland areas. Got to be 21 or older to do so. And, of course, please drink responsibly. The Atlanta Braves met. They are 95-50 and currently winning 4-1 over the Philadelphia Phillies. They have scored 848 runs this season. I'm truly at the point of who's going to do more. Is it going to be the Braves scoring more runs or the Rockies surrendering more? But the Braves have a plus 239 run differential. The Phillies at 79-66 have scored 713 runs. They have a plus 70 run differential. The 74-71 Miami Marlins have scored just 589 runs this year, the lowest in the division. They have a negative 60 run differential. The New York Mets at 66-78. You love to see it. They've scored 628 runs and have a negative 35 run differential. And then the stolen franchise, Washington Nationals, who just deferred Steven Strasburg's retirement and extended their GM all within a week span. They are 65-80 on the season, have scored 625 runs, and have a negative 129 run differential. Colorado Rockies, though, Matt, they've given up 857 runs, so we are still on Rockies 1K.
I don't think they have the juice. They'd have to give up. They got to make up like 150 runs, and they probably have 17 games left.
So it's
that's
total.
It's like 7-8 runs a game.
143 runs they'd have to give up the rest of the season.
Don't see it happening, unfortunately.
Would be nice.
Yeah,
be the first time since 1999 when the Rockies did it themselves. We haven't had a post Y2K 1,000 runs surrendered. In the modern era, it's just been the 1996 Detroit Tigers and the 1999 Colorado Rockies.
I think we have to pretend to be Rockies fans a few more times this season, so I can't really.
They helped us out against the Cubs, that's for sure.
Yeah, they still have a 3-game series against the Cubs. Can't get there, Chief. Sorry.
Unless you get there before.
Yeah. Then, but it's the no.
It's
September 22nd to the 24th, that series. So still too far away to have it locked up. I can't be having that.
They
can put the Giants out of their
nice.
misery. That would be really funny.
That'd be hilarious. Rockies have given up the worst run differential in the National League at -217. Oakland has somehow scraped their way out of the -300 zone, but they've given up 295 more runs than they've scored. They have only scored 537 runs this season, by far the lowest in baseball, and have a -295 run differential. The Kansas City Royals, first team to 100 losses on the season.
Good news is it's Chiefs season.
The Royals have a worse record at this point of recording than the Oakland A's.
Again, at least it's Chiefs season. At least, well, hopefully none of that Royals energy is rubbed off on.
And then the New York Yankees, it's just fun to see everything that happens with them. Like, they truly can't catch a break. Jason Dominguez, UCL injury now. They call him up. He's supposed to be the next phenom, and he's done after a week.
Tough to see.
They have a -15 run differential and are pretty much out of the entire playoff picture. Tampa Bay Rays +198 run differential. Texas Rangers, who were out of it for a hot minute, but they're back in the playoff hunt. They have a +151 run differential. So there you have it. Your NL East and Major League Baseball run differentials brought to you by our pals over at Kenwood Beer. Last bit here, it's just been too funny to track and everything. Obviously a serious situation, but the Danelo Cavalcante thing has just been unbelievable.
Them taking pictures with him like a prize fish at the end of a marina. It's just
it looked like they were posing for a yearbook photo.
It's just unbelievable. Like, brother, you had first of all, the police budgets in this country are insane. They get the money that a GDP of a small country generates, and they could not find one man running around the woods. He was 20 miles away.
To be fair, he was wearing an Eagles hoodie, and he's in Philadelphia, so that is easy camouflage.
He wasn't even in Philadelphia. He was just, what was it, Bucks County?
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here. Are you kidding me? Pat yourselves on the back. Unbelievable.
Made them look like idiots for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks is an insane amount of time.
He allegedly broke into somebody's house and stole a rifle.
Which is also hilarious. Hilarious. Because you just know that person has, I just know. I don't even have to see picture of the house, the back of their truck, to know that this person is taking so much pride in that, we don't call 911, we have guns. And then you had your one opportunity to make good on your promise to defend your castle, and you fucking failed to some loser who hadn't eaten in a week and a half. Unbelievable. You were the equivalent of someone walking up to the mobile order stations at restaurants that they have now and just stealing someone's DoorDash order. You were that guy's just pit stop. You were absolutely waxed. Unbelievable.
Wearing a stolen Eagles hoodie, to which Josh Shapiro said that if somebody's Eagles hoodie went missing, he is going to do his best to get you a new Kelly Green one. I don't know if one of the most hilarious questions I've ever seen asked in a police briefing today. Someone asked if they could have been in a giant trench coat stacked on top of one another, and the cop was like, no.
Well, I think, listen, we have the right to have that question answered. So,
you ever watch Scooby-Doo? Superhero?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Dog talks. Just unbelievable. And the fact that they posed for that photo as well, and none of those cops even caught him. It was the dog. The police dog.
That's the funniest thing about all this is they actually did nothing.
Nothing.
The cops, I can't stress enough. The cops don't even train the dog. Someone else is doing that. That's what's just funny about all
cosplaying
this.
They were in the Iraq War.
I know they're acting like they captured Saddam. I saw less fanfare for the capture of Saddam Hussein than I saw for this man. It's hilarious.
They all had the John Kerry video in their head. Ladies and gentlemen, we got them. And they think they're the ones bashing through with the battering rams into the house.
Absolutely. It's fantastic.
Hilarious part is the K9's name was Yoda. So I'm fully convinced he just used the Force to hunt him down. Just a wild situation. Glad that nobody was hurt, because obviously the dude is a convicted murderer. But I mean, who's to say he's not going to escape again?
I think they're going to do their due diligence here and make sure he. I think it's very comical the way that he did break out of prison. I've never seen something like that in my life. Kind of unbelievable. But.
The fact that we had like Twitter live streams going on of trying to find this guy for 2 weeks.
It's just a failure.
They were this close to calling Dog the Bounty Hunter out of retirement.
Well, I heard that he was
ready to
on
go.
his way. Yeah, I'm sure things would have been so different if they had called him. Definitely would have been better. That's what that operation needed, was a reality TV star. Exactly.
Who's been decades in retirement.
Yeah. Just great stuff.
Unbelievable.
All the way around.
Matt, I think by the time we record next week, a new partner of ours is coming through with a big promise. Our pals over at FOCO are sending me the Phillies overalls, to which I made a deal that if they sent me the overalls, I would wear them on every live episode for the rest of the season.
Fair deal.
So we've got that, and linked in the description is a link for you to purchase your own Phillies overalls. They have the pinstripes, they have red, and they have the powder blue throwbacks. Plus, they have a whole bunch of other awesome Philadelphia sports memorabilia and other team memorabilia that you can purchase. Use our link in the description, though, when you go to get them. Really helps support us, and we're happy to have FOCO on board with Underground Sports Philadelphia. A lot of cool stuff. We'll be working with them to do some really cool things during Eagles season, Phillies playoffs, and throughout the year as well coming up. So shout out to FOCO for getting down with us. Looking forward to a very fun partnership with them going into the postseason with the Phils and going into a fun Eagles season that we think is on the horizon. That's all we got for you guys on this one. Next week, we will fully dive into Survivor, as it is on the horizon. Very excited for that. And, we kind of have a hunch of picking successful players on this show. So
no winners, but
no winners. We've come close.
Yeah, late field players.
We've made the merge. We're looking to keep that streak alive. Make sure you guys are following us on the socials at Underground PHI on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook.com/Underground Sports PHI. Follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave a 5-star rating and review. It goes a long way for helping this show continue to grow, helps more people find Underground Sports Philadelphia as a whole. And be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show twice a week. You get live streams, clips, all of our podcasts in video form. Any video content, it's going on our YouTube channel, so go subscribe over there. Looking to get to 600 subscribers before the end of September, so go subscribe, be a friend, tell a friend. And, of course, this show is presented by the City of Vineland. And whether you're a company looking to expand, relocate, or you're a new business startup, selecting the right location is critical to your success. Vineland, New Jersey offers both an affordable business location and an excellent quality of life. The city's economic development department is a one-stop source for moving your project through the development and approval process, and their goal is to make this process as smooth as possible and to provide the fastest turnaround times in the region. If you're considering potential locations for your operation, contact the Vineland Economic Development Team at 856-794-4100. That's 856-794-4100. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. And big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast. And be sure to get your merch, phiapparel.co, code underground for 10% off any and all merch orders. This has been episode number 568 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. For Matt, I'm KB. Go Birds. Enjoy Thursday Night Football, and we will see you guys next time. But until then, we're getting the heck up out of here, and we are signing off. Peace.